The People's Action for Accountability and Good Governance in Zambia, PAAGZ, is an independent, non-profit organization dedicated to advancing citizen participation in governance and accountability processes.
So PAAGZ was initially registered on the 11th of May 2020, and we started operations in 2021 in Lusaka. And initially we were squatting. We had a small room. It's a toilet, but it was a bigger toilet, so we had to partition that, and so we started from there in the showgrounds. We got a part of what Bloggers of Zambia uses now, just a cubicle there where it's supposed to be a bathroom. The key gaps that were identified were spaces for activists. I'll tell you what I'd experienced myself as an activist. There were times that you were passionate about something, that you feel there's need for urgent action, and the existing organizations at the moment had structured programs that that programmed for the year or even for 2, 3, 4 years. And then there are emerging issues that are urgent, and you as an individual activist or a group of activists would want to take action, but then there's no structured engagement or approach or intervention. And as an activist, I struggled very much. I struggled to fit in. I struggled to find support. I struggled to find space. I thought that was unique to me, but then it was unique for so many other activists. So PAAGZ was that intervention. PAAGZ was that opportunity for us as individual activists to come together, to develop systems that would allow even other activists outside of the organization to come and be supported. In 2019, when I was arrested as an individual activist, a lot of our work got disturbed, because the time that I was in prison, it meant that we had stopped doing the activism and the engagement that we were doing, which was very critical at the time. So then we realized that if there was an organization that was established, even if one of us was in prison, the works of the organization would still continue, even in the absence of one individual. So PAAGZ was that response. What we envisioned to do was, if there was an activist within Lusaka or outside of Lusaka that was obviously speaking to things of accountabilities, things of good governance, things of human rights, but did not have the necessary academic ability to write proposals or do financial statements or requests or proposals, PAAGZ was to be that supporting organization that can do that and facilitate for this particular activity by an activist or a group of activists. Everything was perceived to be Pilato.
tulechulilo mulandu wa investor nepo twaikala ponse aleshta notumana twaleshukilo tumenshi natwena balisenda babikana fensi nga wamona kamana nishimuli chemical.
Even when we had activities as an organization, my personality was imagined to be the organization. And at the time that we started the organization, there were places that I could not go to. There were places that I could not appear or even claim to be working with PAAGZ, because my presence would attract unnecessary attention and restrictions. I think it's one of the major challenges we had. I didn't want to say how I work with PAAGZ and put a lot of other young people's lives in danger. So sometimes you want to take the back seat and then allow them to do the work.
So our main target audience is women and young people, mostly women and young people based in rural areas as well as urban areas. And why we decided to work with women and young people, we believe These form the majority of Zambia's population, and yet they are the most marginalized when it comes to issues of employment, for women access to clean and safe water, and basically access to basic needs. And so they are the most marginalized, but they depend on government services, public services, for them to live out of poverty. That's why we decided to work with them. And for the young people, it's mostly creative. So we believe in the power of creativity. And we thought if we were to influence the influencer, they'll be able to reach out to a broader audience. So we work with creatives using creative expression and creative means. As we try to roll out our work, we use a lot of art. So we use music, we use acting, we use comedy, we use satire. And it's in a nutshell, I'd say we use creative expression.
Your name itself is a taboo. You make a fool of the order of your day to protect.
When the time runs fast, my feet can't keep up.
Kapena kulibema laws, nishikulibeba rats. That's a party every day per road kuli bus driver. So soft like a ship's fur.
And this is so because our target audience is young people who wouldn't really, in this generation, take time to read a newspaper or sit down to listen to the news. But when you present something to them in a creative way, they're able to relate and they're able to focus and pay attention. So we break down what would be a boring press statement and maybe use rap to put it out there for young people or women to listen to.
Apopeti kamba percentage ni 14.
Yellow cities a leka pakangaleche ya coding.
Mu 2016, percentage is 16.
2% drop, come on, we backpedaling. Hope cause restored pa 12 September. Mu 2021, history we all remember. Madam Nelly Muti, the first female speaker, one national assembly. Pinachitika.
Aside from that, we also use drama. We do community sensitizations in different communities. Mostly we've been doing it in Kanyama constituency, so we'll have a women's drama group which will be using drama to mobilize citizens and then not speak to them using a skit. They'll present information using skits.
PAAGZ harnesses the transformative potential of art and creative expression to share information on governance and public service delivery issues.
Since our inception in 2021, we've worked on quite a number of projects. One of the most notable one is town hall meetings. We called them proposed parliament sessions. We've done proposed parliaments in over 13 constituencies across the country. And basically, the proposed parliament sessions focused on providing a platform for conversations between citizens and their duty bearers. We had interesting sessions prior to the 2021 elections, where we had leaders who were speaking to the campaign promises, giving an account of what they had worked on in comparison to what they had promised they would achieve during the 2016 campaign period. People's Parliament provided this platform of accountability holding for duty bearers. But we've also worked on other projects. The Activate project with funding from OSISA, now OSF. Activate project focused on encouraging young people to participate in Zambia's 2021 election. So we did a lot of creative engagements, encouraging them to register to vote, encouraging them to participate and vote on the day of election. And also we're encouraging them to do so from an informed point of view. We had capacity building workshops, training them on what they should look out to as they go out to vote, and also how they can basically hold their leaders accountable for their campaign promises. As you may know, there was a very good turnout of young people turning out to vote in the 2021 general elections. We've also worked on a project called PAAGZ Zambia. This was done with funding from the National Endowment for Democracy, which is NED. The PAAGZ Zambia focused on also improving citizen participation in governance and accountability issues. We did this in 4 provinces: Lusaka, Copperbelt, Luapula, as well as Western Province. And we formed what are called PAAGZ groups. These are groups of women and young people who in their communities decide to come together and just question government spending and the development rollout in their different communities. And we're also currently working on a project called Meet My Debt.
They'll pay. Just pack everything for me. They'll pay by next week, so they'll pay.
Tadi balume benu ebo bakongwele kwati balefo okusasa ndefipe nomba munganda ngapa kukongola tabamyebele.
We're working with creatives, with about 20 creatives who repackage debt information and put it out there using creative means or in simpler terms, targeting young people and encouraging them to just get to understand what's going on in Zambia's debt issues. And we also are currently working on a project with funding from Bread for the World. It's called Marginalized Women and Young People Holding Duty Bearers Accountable. This is being done in 2 provinces, Lusaka and the Copperbelt province, and is focused on ensuring that young people and women participate in holding their leaders accountable. And as we have been rolling out this project, we've also assisted women and the young people to create cooperatives so that they can access funding from government through CDF. One of the complaints that they had was that they did not know the CDF application process. They did not know what was needed. So we assisted them in forming these cooperatives. And also, I think in the next phase of the project, we're hoping to train them in entrepreneurship skills, business proposal writing, so they can be self-reliable once the project is done.
The role the board plays in the life of PAAGZ is to give oversight, to ensure that Secretariat is pursuing our mission and our vision, and that it is being accountable on the resources that we have, as well as implementing our programs in such a way that we reach impact. It is the board's interest to ensure that as PAAGZ we are an impactful organization. The PAAGZ board is made up of individuals with strong capacities, experience in governance, in financial management, in planning. And I think one thing you can say about the PAAGZ board is that it's very committed to the work of the organization, got a strong volunteer spirit. So it has managed, I think, to help direct the Secretariat, the young Secretariat, towards targeting its goals. And also every so often when needed, maybe coming in to support secretariats to develop its systems, to develop its manuals, maybe speak to funders, yes. But it's very important for the PAAGZ board to keep in its lane. It is the role of our ED, who we trust, and at the Secretariat to run everyday work, but we as the board are always there to be called on when needed, as well as to provide some oversight. And so the Executive Director will every so often, every quarter, report to the board on how the finances are being run, but especially also on how activities are being carried out. And our main role is to ensure that we are keeping on course on why we exist, and that we are reaching impact and achieving change out there.
As PAAGZ looks into the future, it strives for a more equal and inclusive Zambia, anchored on citizens' participation.
We are an organization that has embarked on a strategic planning process, looking forward to the next 4 years and probably beyond, to bridge the gap, the information gap that exists in terms of the marginalized, specifically looking at women, looking at youths, having a very, very special and unique voice. And as PAAGZ, we are taking on a different approach, one that is not so traditional within the industry, where we're trying to harness the power of creatives as well as creative expression.
They can be used to convey complex advocacy messages and act as a catalyst for change. They can also speak truth to power while aligning with the aspirations of the average citizen who seeks a positive change in Zambia.
So we recognize that artists and artistic expression can actually be a key driver of complex advocacy messages, reaching the masses, reaching the marginalized in different corners of the country, in the remotest parts.
It is against this backdrop that PAAGZ prioritizes building relationships, not only with artists, but with key stakeholders who align with their concerns and interests within and outside the creative sector. This includes entities such as the Ministry of Youth, Sports, Arts, the National Arts Council, as well as academic institutions like the distinctive Open Window University for Creative Arts. PAAGZ's aim is to collaborate with these partners in fostering a conducive landscape and environment where target audiences can thrive and flourish.
We are certainly on the right path to ensure that there is accountable use of public resources, that citizens have a voice, and that citizens that are generally maybe left out, the marginalized citizens in the country, are capacitated to ask questions, are capacitated to have a voice. And so I think in that regard, PAAGZ, though it's still a very young organization, is doing very well and has created a niche for itself in the way it uses, for example, creatives, musicians, dramatists, to capacitate ordinary citizens to understand their work and also to in targeting that part of the society, that part of the country that is generally left out of these conversations.
The future of PAAGZ looks like an organization that couches itself within the sector as an authority that advocates for rights of the marginalized, also empowers the marginalized, to have a voice, to actually speak for themselves, to actually hold duty bearers accountable, to actually participate in good governance and in decision-making platforms. In a nutshell, we see PAAGZ as being an organization that transforms the narrative among us, the marginalized. The people themselves should hold this voice where they realize that their rights are inherent and their rights are fundamental, and they can actually be included in development in different aspects.